Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new recap video. Please remember to like and subscribe. A cruise ship could be seen cutting waves through the sea. The weather was sunny and pleasant. Birds sang in the sky, while a loud chanting could be heard from the ship, the school's best student. Gao Chenyu was going to confess to the school sweetheart Ellen, a girl with utmost beauty. The scene shows us a male on his knees gifting flowers to the girl, asking her out while the rest of the crowd chants their names and supports the supposed new couple. People talk about the couple dreamily. One said that Gao was the perfect man as he has been composed and attentive all this time at school to the point he has already gotten an offer from a multinational company in return of a good salary. But Ellen was no less either. She was beauty with brains and had worked hard throughout her time. She had a lovely voice. All the world's top companies have expressed desire to hire her. They were the couple. Some called them Jack and Rose from Titanic, while the other joked about them sinking. The scene is then moved to another student behind the crowd who seemed to be engrossed in his phone watching something. The character now bid farewell to him through the phone, promising to meet them next time. The male stretched his arms as a smile etched itself onto his lips. His eyes sparkled. He thought how the show, which was Master Tax, was very interesting and one could never get bored. A fly sat on his nose, making him grunt, but suddenly the weather shifted and the once sunny weather now turned into a gloomy storm, which caused waves to ride over the cruise, making it lose balance. The man in charge announced from the deck for everyone to stay put in their places and slowly evacuate the deck without hurting one another. Teachers shouted at the students to run into the ship. The storm was getting worse. The boy who was on the phone was now holding onto the sides of the ship to steady himself, mentally cursing at anyone who mentioned the Titanic. It was coming true. Now it was too late for him to get back to the cabin. He had no choice but to jump over the deck, but as soon as he did, another male called out to him, worried about what he is doing. His name was Qin Tian. Qin Tian jumped over the fence to get a tube, but now, due to the constant moving of the ship, his weight shifted and he fell into the sea, while the cruise ship sank right there. The following scene shows us Qin Tian laying at the shore of the sea with a tube around him. He was unconscious. Some voices were coming from afar. Not so long after he gained consciousness and looked around, taking in his surroundings, he had reached an island. He did not die and thanked the lifesaver, the tube, as he took off his clothes to dry them. He sat there thinking about where he is and how there is no sign of any human life on this piece of land, making it deserted. He was all alone here, or he thought so. He started to calculate all his ways to get out of here. He thought about the rescue team coming here, but that would only be possible when the damage has been counted and the location is spotted while identifying the missing people. All this process would take a maximum of 5 days, which to Qin Tian meant that he had to wait around for 6 days, lurking around this island and finding a place to refuge while keeping himself alive and safe. He had to wait for the search and rescue teams to arrive, but the only problem was to find food, which was solved within seconds as he spotted a few fallen coconuts. Qin could survive on these for more than a week. He was lucky. He talked to himself about buying a knife when he first started watching Master Tax show and fell in love with it, but he had never used it. Now was the perfect time. He continues to cut open the days-old coconut, soon realizing that it does not have much coconut milk due to being old, so he had to at least drink 5 coconut milks a day to ensure his body's normal working, so that he may live to get rescued. He was now talking to himself. While he enjoyed the coconut milk, he suddenly remembered that he heard some strange voices while he was unconscious, but his talks were interrupted by the same robotic voice. A holographic sight came in front of him while a voice said about the host reviving and should click the package. Chanin was stunned and shocked. He spit out the milk, trying to understand what's going on. The 3D hologram was too suspicious. Hesitantly, he clicked on the hologram floating mid-air, which claimed to be a novice package. As soon as he did, the voice announced that the host received common plants and common animals as a reward, making him shake his head. Those were the names of 2 books, and Chen could not understand who would have the time and desire to read books on a deserted island waiting for a search party. He said if he had gotten something like an online game with newbie packages, then it would be fun since it would be a live game. He chuckled at the silly thought. Suddenly, he felt weird as the robotic voice announced the distribution of certain gifts. The voice then says that the host has received a newbie package, making Tian's sighs. He thought he might be going crazy at this point. He thought it might be his illusion because nothing seemed real at this point. He was feeling a lot of knowledge in his head, which was unusual, as if someone had planted a chip there. He moved forward to grab a coconut when a hologram appeared on top of it containing information regarding the fruit, what was its type and color, including its taste and advantages. Qian was shocked and looked at his hand, now understanding what was actually happening to him. He realized that the book sent by the organization was now directly implanted into his brain, which was helpful to him as he was stuck on an island. Knowledge was needed. A loud, afraid scream was heard from the depth of the island, which was covered in trees, making Qian alerted. He realized that he was not alone on the island as he thought he had company. Without wasting a second, Tian immediately ran into the direction of the voice, ready to face whatever was coming his way. He wrested through the trees, and with fisted hands he now reached the place and saw a girl screaming for help as a snake was ready to bite her. Tian, without another glance, recognized who she was. It was Ellen, a sweetheart of the school. She was a survivor as well. She was holding her dress tightly as if it would save her from the snake. She shouted at Tian to save her from getting bitten, and as he moved forward to the snake, another hologram appeared at its top, explaining its type and kind. It was a venomous snake, and it was commonly found in mountainous ranges and also sludges. It was small. The snake hissed at Ellen, but Tian grabbed it by its long red tail, slamming its head into a nearby tree, smashing it. He succeeded in killing the snake. His back was facing the girl as he held onto the dead body of the snake, telling her that if it had bitten her, she would have gotten disabled if not met death. She was still in shock but tried to ask him about his name, but he caught her off guard by telling her to get dressed first. She did not realize that she was still naked, holding onto her dress, making her flare up. She screamed at him to close her eyes and not to look at her. After she got dressed, she was embarrassed and thought to herself about how she fell into that situation because she wanted to dry her clothes. She was not aware what could have happened. She then looked over at Tian, who was sitting near the shore of the island staring into the air while cutting the remaining coconuts. Ellen thought that he is a nice man as he just saved her life, but soon became sad because he did not even look back at her. Was she not beautiful anymore? She walked up to Tian with a small smile. Her petite frame stood next to him as she thanked him for saving her life back there. Tian nodded at her. She then introduced herself by her name and told him that she is a university student who was now the survivor of the shipwreck. Tian was bored. He also gave a small introduction about his name and that he is also from the same university. This made Ellen jump in joy as she held his hands. She asked if he is the survivor of the shipwreck and that she was very happy to finally meet her companion on this deserted island. Now both of them sat down while Tian cut more coconuts and Ellen drank some of the coconut milk. She didn't let her quench her thirst first because a woman needs more water than men. He was looking after her. She was delighted at how good it tasted. Chid then asked her whether she had anything that would help them to communicate with the city, so they could call someone to help them and rescue them, but she shook her head, telling him that she had lost everything in the storm, her belongings washed up. Chan thought that the same happened with him as Ellen seemed confident about the search party finding them because thousands of people were killed in the ship. The team would definitely come to save them. As long as both of them stay together, they can find a way out of this. Ellen looked enthusiastic. Shin was surprised to see a girl so calm and optimistic about this kind of situation. It was a good sign, but considering how the search team does not work and set off overnight, and it would take days for them to get here, it was not easy. But he could not break her heart, so he decided to play safe since they had no surety of being alive when they came. He spoke that maybe the rescue team had already set off, but just for their safety, they should probably start a fire to keep them warm and safe, and to drive insects and snakes away at night. Ellen immediately thought about the snake she had encountered earlier and agreed with him. There must be a fire. Tian thought that it was for her own safety. She then questioned him about how to make fire on an island, whether they would drill through wood just like in movies, but Tian interjected, saying that the drilling requires a certain skill and mannerisms. While it might take a day or two for novices like them, it would still not be enough and they would never succeed. She then asked how they would do it if they did not have the skills. Tian told her to search around the island because if they washed up here, then it means something else which might be useful would be here as well, such as it later. They need to search. Ellen nodded and both of them decided to mass search the island for anything that could help them. After an hour of the duo walking and trying to find something to help start a fire, they failed. The island was exceptionally clean. Ellen told Tian this as well, that the land was too clean to find anything, while making Tian think about it. It was weird how nothing was on the island. Even if there were no other survivors, some other stuff surely should have washed up here. The location where their ship sank was not too far, yet the island was devoid of any sort of existence from the outside world. Nothing seemed to be in sight. The island was secluded from the rest of the world. Shen kept walking, continuing to think, while Ellen observed him suddenly finding something. She saw something shining buried halfway into the sand. Upon pulling, she realized that it was just a plastic bottle, so she decided to throw it, thinking it would be of no use, but was stopped by Tian. She gave the bottle to him, then asked why he was so excited about a plastic bottle. It was useless, but Tian did not think that. He knew the bottle would come in handy, while Tian knew that he could build a fire with it. Soon both of them sat down and Tian gathered some sticks to form a circle and used the bottle as well. According to statistics, which were incomplete, the average annual number of forest fires caused by men is more than 200,000. These are man-made, while natural fires are caused by only 1%. Fires made by man account for the largest numbers. Accidental fires are caused by littering of plastic bottles. Due to the air inside them when put in a certain angle, light from the sun passes through it, resulting into an accidental fire. Shin used the same method by angling the bottle. Ellen was amazed. Soon the sky turned azure and the fire kept burning while Tian and Ellen sat across from each other to keep themselves safe. Ellen asked Tian how long would it take for the rescue team to arrive. She was worried if they died on this secluded island starving to death. Shin realized that she is not optimistic anymore and the depression is taking over, which was not a good sign considering the situation. The circumstances required a positive outlook and good mindset. If Ellen let the depression take over, then they would not be able to work together. He decided to help out her mood because if one acts like this, then they are finished. He then addresses Ellen, telling her that she was the one who told him that it shall take 3 days or more for the search party to get here, and even if that is not the case, then it would take up to a week for them to find the both of them. Right now, as for starving to death, they have coconut milk which can boost their body immunity, which can help them to live up to a week and wait patiently. Hence, she should not worry. Ellen looked at him softly, confirming whether he was aware of what he had just said. Tian nodded sharply, saying that he was 100% sure. Even if it was not, he could not pacify her mind. A positive outlook was important for now. Chen then took out the snake he had killed in the morning whilst holding a knife in the other hand. Ellen was shocked as she moved back, asking him about his intentions now. He chuckled and sliced the snake open with the tool, earning a scream from Ellen. "Who does that?" She knew what he was up to, but she desperately wanted to be proven wrong. She asked if he was going to cook the snake to eat it, and to her surprise, he said yes. To him, the meat would be delicious. He asked whether she is happy to have something to eat despite the coconuts. Ellen got mad and furiously told him that she would rather starve to death than to eat some meat of a snake. She was not going to take part in this. She would gladly die. Chen thought that it is fortunate to find meat on this piece of useless land, that she was acting ungrateful, but he knew that she would come around. Who can resist fresh meat? Ellen would not be able to stand it later. He put the 2 strips of the snake on a stick, letting them cook over the fire as they finally did. Shen took a bite, moaning at the taste and describing how the crispy layer was adding to the soft taste on the inside, provoking Ellen. He kept talking about how delicious it was all while eyeing the lady who was trying to ignore him and the grumble of her stomach when she gestured him to stop. He did. He asked what was wrong now, but all she asked was if she could eat the other piece, if he had no problem with it, which Tian did not. He told her to help herself. She sniffed the food before eating it, clearly enjoying the taste of it. At least she was not hungry anymore. While Tian was thankful that he had the snake to eat, or they would have to starve tonight. He could not help but think while eating about the system being shut down today. He did not know how to turn it on either. That consumed his thoughts. As if on cue, the same blue holographic sight came in front of him while the robotic voice announced that the host had earned 100 points for surviving the entire day and lighting up a fire. Chen choked on his food at the sudden, unexpected surprise, making Ellen startled. She was worried for him. She asked if he is fine. He responded with a lie while coughing that a critter had fallen into his shirt. He realized that he was the only one who could see and hear the system. Ellen was clueless. She thought that she was in danger and got scared. Chen sighed, thinking that both of them are stuck and are waiting for the rescue team. The blue hologram was showing an icon of a bonfire. Chen kept looking at her and thought that no matter what, people are unpredictable, and he cannot take the risk of telling anyone or to Lin about his system. Because if he did, the games might turn out to be sliced open for research. It is indispensable to guard against others, therefore he shall keep this a secret from the girl. Ellen continued to enjoy her food while Tian clicked through the system, knowing that he did not have to cover up almost since she is unaware of anything. The online game showed him that he had earned 100 points for lighting up a bonfire, and that he could exchange the points for something else to survive on this island. Shen realized that the game is not so hard to understand. He just needs to know what he can buy in exchange for the points. He then realized that the system works with his brain, which is why it appears and disappears, regulating his thought process. He skimmed through the options and tried to understand their purpose, but failed to do so. However, he was sure that they might come in handy considering their names. He then came across another option which required a crazy amount of money, but Chen had a feeling that it has immense powers. He could feel it. It was a book called Natural Love in the Wild. He then thought that it is stupid to place a book there and cannot risk clicking on it, since he could not even see the cover of it. Chen continued to skim through the system trying to find something useful, but even if the cheapest products were of 2,000 points, 100 points would buy them nothing. Not to mention that there was no place to pick any sort of quests to earn points. He was confused. He had to explore it on his own. He decided to shut the system down and lay down, gazing at the sky blotted with silver. Chen continued to talk with Ellen without looking at her. He told her that they can easily survive on coconut milk till the rescue team finds them, but that would only provide carbohydrates and not proteins, which are essential at the moment. His arms were relaxed underneath his head as he lay straight. He told her that tomorrow they would split into two searchers themselves to hunt for fish and shrimps on the shore in order to provide them a healthy body. They will hunt at low tide tomorrow. Shin kept talking but soon stopped, realizing that she was not responding to him, but when he turned to look at her, he realized that she was fast asleep, so she must not have heard of his plan. She had decided to lay down again and sleep as well, thinking about talking about this tomorrow with her. Not long after Tian had fallen asleep, his dreams were disturbed by a sudden wave of cold breeze which made him wake up and look around. The temperature had dropped suddenly. They might even die. Chen looked over at Ellen, who was shivering from the cold. Chen mentally cursed before shaking her to wake up. He touched her and her body was getting colder. It was not a good sign, so Tian kept shaking her up, but she would not because it is fixated on the outer world. She finally woke up lazily looking at Tian, who was relieved that she did not go into a shock from the cold. Ellen screamed, pushing Tian to the ground. She cried out, asking him his intentions while he stared at her with confusion. She thought he was going to take advantage of her, while Tian tried to explain that it was not what he was up to, but she would not listen and instead called him out for being a pervert, while she thought of him as a decent man. He cannot touch even if they are the only ones here. But now Tian turned around and sat close to the fire, telling her to stay near the fire or she would freeze to death. She then realized that she was cold, so she did exactly what he told her to. Both of them were shivering from the cold as they tried to keep themselves warm, while Tian was shocked how the temperature of day differs greatly from night. It was getting colder, and since the cruise took them from a route closer to the equator, so they did not have much warmer clothes. They were stuck on this weird island. Shen's face turned blank as he called Ellen. She looked up at him. He told her that the only way to survive the cold night was to hug each other for bodily warmth, or they would die right there. To her horror, she refused immediately, backing away, telling him that it would not happen. Over her dead body, Tian did not push her further. Both of them remained quiet and shivered. Ellen realized that her feet and hands were getting colder despite sitting near to a campfire. She realizes that that is the only way for them to survive. She looked at his shivering kin Tian and asked if she really had to put her self-respect aside and do this. She had not had physical contact with any boy before, but on the flip side, it is because of Tian that she is still breathing. He saved her life and started a bonfire. She abruptly stood up, startling Tian, as she agreed to him, telling him to not to look at while she twisted off the strap of her dress, confusing Tian. He gave her a weird look and questioned her undressing. She then saw a picture in her mind where the hero and heroine have to undress in order to save themselves from the cold, so that is why she's undressing. Tian chuckled, telling her that it would not be necessary considering they have thin clothes on. The characters in a movie have to remove thick clothing, which serves as a barrier which does not let body heat pass through. They do not need to undress. Upon hearing this, Ellen sat down. She was embarrassed, so she nodded. Tian told her that he would hug her now, so he grabbed her by the shoulders and pulled her between his legs to hold onto her. Both of them sat uncomfortably, but this was the only way to ensure they remained alive. They were warm once again, and they fell asleep. Ellen was the first one to wake up as she noticed that the sun had risen in its full glory. She immediately jumped away from him, pointing at the sun, waking Tian up. Both of them stood at the shore watching the sunrise. It was a beautiful scene, as Ellen said. Chen hurriedly went to the other side, instructing Ellen to catch the stranded shrimp, fishes, and crabs from the shore since the tide was low. She was blank. Chen was happy. He started to gather crabs from behind the large rocks while one bit onto Ellen's finger, resulting in a sharp cry from her lips. She squirmed, asking help from Tian, who was still busy collecting food. He told her to just use a stone on the crab and she would be fine. She did exactly that and hit the crab with a stone until it lay half dead in her hands. Chan looked at the seafood he had gathered with a small smile, announcing that their breakfast is ready. Shin continued to slice the upper layer of the crabs to cook them breakfast. He kept throwing the carapaces away, earning a scolding from the woman. She asked him the reason for throwing away the pieces, which have the most chicken. But in actuality, she was thinking how yesterday she was still hungry after feasting on the snake, yet here he is, throwing precious food. Shin continued to cut the carapaces and shrugged, telling her that if she wants to eat the carapaces, she can, but then she would not be able to eat the crabs. She whined at his statement. Helen was the one who caught half of those crabs, therefore she rubbed it in his face. Hien explained that crabs are naturally cold, and if one eats too many, they shall feel discomfort in their stomach. And they cannot afford that while being stuck on an island. The crab roe and the carapaces especially would result in immediate medical attention, so therefore she cannot eat the carapaces. Both of them then sat down to feast on the crabs. They enjoyed their meal after so much hard work. Ellen complimented that the crab tasted good, but a bit of seasoning would make it even better, while Tian told her that they would have to spend the night in the forest, rather on the beach. They would have to build a refuge to protect themselves against the cold. Ellen was a little confused, so Tian explained how the chilly night yesterday nearly made them freeze to death, so they are not taking any chances. Ellen counter-questioned, staring at him, that why can't they just build a refuge on the beach? Why do they have to go to the forest? He told her that the forest is rich in wood, trees, and many materials, so it would be easier to reside there. Not only that, but they can also find more food. Ellen now understood and agreed to follow him and asked whether they would set foot into the forest right after the meal, but Tian said they should get enough water with them before going in. He also added that they have to make a signal for the rescue team so they do not miss them. Both of them were standing under a tall coconut tree. The coconuts were high up, as Ellen said. It was dangerous, so Tian suggested if she would like to try, but she remained silent. Tian unbuckled his belt, making the lady cover her eyes and scream. Tian said that he has no interest in climbing that tree, but since she asks for water every 5 minutes, then only 2 coconuts are not enough. They need many. Tian tied the belt around his shoes in a crossing manner, which would serve great friction, helping him to climb up the tree. It was a very old method called bite the rope. 2 legs would stick easier against the tree. Climbing the tree was harder than Tian expected because the trunk was very smooth, making it harder for him to hold on to it. If he is not careful, he will be done for good. After a while of struggling, Tian finally reached the top of the tree and shouted at Ellen to back away, since he was going to cut the coconuts and they might fall on her. He cut down several coconuts, giving some to the lady to drink now and pouring some into the plastic bottle for future use. Since these coconuts were fresh, hence they had 3 times more water than the dried ones. This would keep them hydrated. They now started to advance towards the forest when Tian noticed Ellen picking up the remaining of the coconuts. Upon questioning, she told him that they might need it and the scarcity of water might kill them, so she is carrying them with her. She had nodded, telling her that the overusage of coconut water leads to heavy diarrhea and vomiting, and she really would not like that to happen at a place full of snakes, insects, and various centipedes and bugs. It is a wild place after all. After listening to his knowledge, Ellen dropped the coconuts with a blank expression. Both of them now entered the forest, leaving a large SOS written on the sand with the help of rocks, just in case the search party reaches them. While walking in, Tian thought how after the performance of Dijia, he thought about these survival places being interesting, but now that they are finally here, he wants nothing more than to be back in his room and sleep on his bed. Ellen asked for the water bottle and Tian passed it to her, deep down in his thoughts that something might be lurking in the corners or bushes, ready to attack them. After Ellen drank some water, she noticed Tian sweating, so she passed him some, strictly telling him not to put his mouth over it. He hummed while drinking some water. She asked whether he was looking for something, making Tian question her own question. She told him that he keeps looking at bushes and corners, and anyone could tell that he is looking for something. Smart Ellen. Tian started explaining by asking whether she remembers the snake she encountered yesterday, which obviously she did. He said that the snake is a kind of coluber named Cinnatrix annularis, which usually lives in fresh water and occasionally comes out to catch his prey. Ellen got excited on hearing that there's fresh water nearby. Tian applauded her intelligence and hoped he had a reward for her. She then asked whether he knew where it was or he was just relying on luck to magically lead them there. Tian thought that it is impossible to rely on luck with life or without passive hunger skills like Dijia, and only knowledge can help them through this. He then pointed at a path which seemed to be made leading somewhere. The land was created in a long walkway. He told Ellen that this seems like a road, as if some animals have walked over it, paving the way, which is why the plants on the sides look broken. The path of disruption was the same, which means animals use it to go drink water. That is how they can find it too. Ellen smiled. She thought that humans and animals are almost the same. They would do anything to gather resources to survive. They would find a way. Tian nodded, praising her excellent concepts of understanding, but she took offense that it did not seem like he was complimenting her, but he brushed it off by saying that she is just overthinking. They continued to walk on that path, Tian at the front, as Ellen questioned his ability of having so much information regarding wildlife and outdoor activities. She asked whether he enjoys outdoor activities. He questioned her back if she thinks that. She asked again whether he does enjoy all of this. He told her to regard him as a person who loves outdoor activities without having to experience them. Both of them stopped. Tian thought about the area of this forest, and if they do not find the water stream, then he has to hurry up and build the fire to keep them safe and warm. He turned to look at Ellen, who was very quiet, trying to hear something. Upon asking, she told Tian to listen as well. He did, and realized what it was. He immediately held Ellen and ran with her towards the sound. She was shocked. The sound was none other than the sound of water running. There they were in awe of nature. The fresh water was streaming in front of them. Both of them smiled at each other and went near the water stream. Tian splashed it on his face, finally being happy about finding the water stream before noon. They had done a good job by not wasting time. While Aylin told some water in her hands looking at it, Tian thought she was attempting to drink and shouted at her to not drink it. She grew nervous as shouted back that she knows she would not drink it because it has bacteria. He thought that he was just reminding her, but she got upset. After a while, they walked deeper into the forest to find a place for shelter, but Ellen asked why they could not make a tent near the water stream or just stay there. There was no need to go deeper now. They walked and Tian said that if they make a tent near the water bank, then they run a high chance of getting in the way of a wild animal. Not to mention there is a risk of flooding as well in case it rained. They came to a large opening with flat ground surrounded by trees and no bushes, plus it was near the water stream. It was suitable for now. He ordered Ellen to find some big leaves, and if she cannot, then get some big branches. He gives her his knife while he makes the fire camp and finds wood for the camp. She nodded and went about her way. Tian found some wood and wanted to dry it as well as some extra wood to store because the weather was high in humidity. With the sun telling him time, it was the afternoon and he only had enough time to make a one-sided tent. He made the fireplace and started a bonfire. He remembered that they walked by a tree with branches as large as his arms. The only problem was that his knife was too small. It would not cut the tree easily. He then saw some stones and remembered a German reality show where they made an axe using stones. Chen immediately started hitting 2 stones to get one form into a fine sharp object, but he did not have time to build the entire axe, so he decided to just use the stone and break the wooden trunks. The usage of the stone was limited since it literally took half an hour to cut down one tree, but luckily he only needed 1 and went to cut down 3 branches to support it. The sun started to set and Chen only could cut down 9 trees in the afternoon while he was tying the woods together, carrying them back to the open spot. He carried them slowly and realized that one would weigh 30 kilograms, but thanks to his father telling him to carry sugarcanes during the summer, Chen was trained. When he reached the bonfire, Ellen was already there waiting for him. She excitedly showed him the big banana leaves she found, telling him that there is a banana tree 100 miles away from the river bank, but she could only get a few. Shin told her that it was enough, so they shall start making the tent right away without wasting any time so they could spend the night comfortably. Both of them worked together in building the shelter. Tian decided to build a small, one-sided tent for now considering how late it is and they had limited supplies. They were tired too. Ellen used tree bark to tighten the branches. According to her, it would be strong, while Tian drew a mental picture in his mind trying to understand the design of it. He would need a wooden stick and a wall to build a one-sided tent. Ellen asked if she should tighten the banana leaves with the tree, but he suggested she make an open cut at the end instead. It would be better. He cut the tree branch into 2 smaller branches first and dug them into the soil before fastening the rest of the wooden framework next to it and leaning the wall of banana leaves over it. Ellen seemed disappointed but remained blank as she asked why it was only one-sided with a sigh. Shannon was offended and told her not to look down on it since in this way they could still feel the warmth from the wooden side. He was cut short due to the system appearing in front of him. It was mocking Tian as well as Ellen asked him to continue what he was saying. He repeated that they would get warmth at a done Ellen. Tian thought that the system was now making fun of him as well. It read that the host had received 1,000 points for building a trash tent, making Tian mentally cursed. Both of them now sat down comfortably near the fire. Tian told her that since the plastic has been exposed to water, it would get toxic. However, if she would like to get dehydrated, then go ahead. Ellen did it. She gulped down some of the water, while Tian told her to leave some for him too. She passed him the bottle again, reminding him not to touch his lips on the edge. Chen now thought about their current situation and things they needed. They had shelter, but what about food? They had to find something to eat. At the present moment, the only food available is seafood and coconut, which can be found on the island. He did not notice Ellen's displeased expression about something, but continued to think about all possible ways they could eat. Their shelter was an hour away from the beach. Even the coconuts would not provide them enough food. They would just fill them with carbohydrates. Chang decided to go to the banana forest, and Ellen told him about it tomorrow. He was still thinking when he felt a hard smack on his forearm. It was Ellen. Her hand left a mark as Tian looked at her in pain. He asked her furiously for her reason for hitting him. She immediately apologized and told him that there are mosquitoes all around them. Tian realized that jumbo mosquitoes are dangerous, and if one bites them, it would leave a painful swelling on their skin. The more they get stung, the more chances are for them to get a fever. They were disturbing Ellen again while she tried to brush them away. She asked Tian to help her, but he whistled, attracting the mosquitoes towards him. Chen suddenly got the idea to burn something in order to create smoke, which would serve as a way to get rid of the mosquitoes. He took a straight branch and burnt it, which created smoke. Ellen covered her face, so did Tan, and he told her that the smoke in the air would not let the mosquitoes come near them for a moment. An elderly person taught him this when he was younger, who was his neighbor, so he really does not know what he is doing. Now both of them sat down in comfort again. Tan was mentally thanking the wall they created, which would keep them away from the cold wind. Since they were in the jungle, the trees blocked the cold air from entering. It was wise to build a tent here. Shannon then announced to Ellen that since there are a variety of wild animals here, it cannot fall asleep at the same time. One of them needs to guard the tent while the other sleeps. He looked over at her and realized that she had fallen asleep while sitting, so he carefully laid her down since she was tired from today and has not slept since last night. He had to keep watch tonight, so he decided to make some rope from the bark by shaving it since he has a lot of till, so he would rather do something so he does not fall asleep. It would come handy in the future. Shin continued to work. Slowly the night turned into a beautiful morning and birds chirped in the distance, helping Ellen to wake up. She was fresh as she looked over at Tian, whose back was facing her. She asked why he would wake up so early and who made this rope. He turned around and looked at her. He looked scary and worn out. Shen warned her to keep watch on them tonight or he would kill her. She immediately apologized, telling him that she was sleepy last night and today he can sleep while she keeps a watch to make sure they stay safe. Shin told her it is fine, but he knew she could fall asleep even while sitting, so he did not feel safe. Both of them went to the water stream to freshen up, and Tian asked her about the location of the banana jungle. He has been too busy since yesterday to find water and build shelter that he did not look around for other resources. She told him that the banana jungle is quite near and all he needs to do is to follow the river's path for a few miles and he will reach it. Shaden saw a bush full of raspberries. The system showed him the usage and advantages of the fruit, including the seasons it is available. Shin called Ellen to look at them. She thought they looked beautiful, but could they eat them, she asked Tian. Chen was not sure and asked her to try it. She took one raspberry from his palm and ate it. Tian did not know if they would taste good or not. Ellen cried out because the raspberry tasted sour. Shin laughed, throwing the rest of them away before turning around. He told her that raspberries turn ripe in April. Obviously, they would be sour right now. They finally reached the banana jungle. They were standing underneath the tree, which was 10 times bigger than them. The system again showed the kind of banana it is and the species it belonged to. According to them, they were edible. Shin spotted a bunch of bananas. He was happy that they could have something for breakfast, but Ellen reported that a part of the bananas were still green, which might mean they cannot eat it. Shin started to look for something and told her that he does not know whether they can eat it or not, but he is also aware of the fact that they have no other choices. Ellen agreed and asked how they possibly get the bananas as they are high up. Ellen suggested he should climb, but Chan said he could not because the tree might not be able to handle his weight. He started to tie a rock with the rope, making Ellen question what he is doing. He told her to step back as he threw the rope towards the tree, the rock, but the surface of the banana getting stuck. Chan tried to pull it as hard as he could before the leaves fell down over him. Shin was buried beneath a pile of leaves as Ellen realized that the leaves were too soft, which is why they broke immediately. She asked Tian if he was fine. He raised his hand from underneath the pile holding a banana, asking her if she would like to eat it. She shook her head, saying she would not eat it, as he was using her as a test to see what is toxic and what is not. Chan mumbled that he was just trying to be a gentleman, but she is calling him out like that. Chin peeled the banana and took a bite while Ellen crossed her arms, asking him to climb up for her. Chin refused, telling her that it is hard. Ellen questioned the taste of the banana and asked if they should try another one since this seemed raw. He explained that it is not the ripening of bananas. The thing here is they cannot eat this. He showed her the banana and asked her to observe closely. The seeds were spread out in the banana, which meant that it has not gone through mutation, whereas the bananas they mostly eat have undergone the mutation process. This banana is not edible since this tree has not reached that process yet. He then said that bananas are not yummy anyway, so if she would like to have meat, then here they are. She had moved towards the banana leaf that hung low and made Ellen confused about how meat can be found on a banana tree. Qian asked her to look for herself if she does not believe in him. He showed her a banana worm on the leaf and she asked if it is delicious and why is there only one, making Tian mentally think about how could she be so calm. He then explained that this is a banana worm and it often hides under the big leaves and its protein is 6 times more than a buffalo's meat. They could easily fry it until it turns golden and brown. Then they could feast on it. Both of them returned to their camp. They started to fry the worms on fire while Ellen was eager to eat, so she kept asking him if she could while he told her to wait. After not so long, he gave her permission to eat and both of them feasted on it. Their breakfast was ready. Ellen enjoyed the taste, comparing it to tomate, saying it is just like that. Tian thought that fried ones are better than raw ones. She told him that bananas worms are way more delicious than snake meat. Taeyeon laughed, saying that everything seems delicious when one is hungry. He then told her that he is surprised that she is not afraid of worms. In response, Ellen said that she has tried a number of worms as well as fish's liver. Shen asked her to bring over the rope, so she did. Ellen then noticed Taeyeon had turned the plastic bottle's mouth inside. She scolded him for doing that to the only bottle they had. He told her that it was important to trap fish, and if they do not do it, they can starve again. Ellen was confused. He told her that when they returned here, he noticed a number of fish in the stream and they are going to catch it. With this bottle, they could easily catch some small ones. Ellen listened to him attentively. He explained that this is an inverted funnel made out of plastic bottle and small fishes could easily get inside, but when they try to come outside, they cannot because the opening would be small. Simply speaking, the principle is easy in and difficult out. As he was explaining, the system came in front of him announcing that he has won 200 points for making a fish trap. Chien chuckled at it. Since he would use the bottle to catch fish, Ellen asked what would they do if they have to drink water. He told her to use coconut shells. Ellen told him that the shell would break since it is soft. Chien had other ideas. He explained that they would heat up some rocks and put them in the water so the water boils like this. This is how they transfer heat indirectly. Chien stood up and Ellen questioned that they should go to the seashore, but he told her that they have to settle the fish trap somewhere carefully before leaving. Shen placed the water bottle in between of two rocks to stabilize it, as the end had small holes to let water in. While bananas were used as bait, they would catch fish in no time. But Ellen asked why could not they set up the trap near their camp, why here? He told her that the area is shady and the water lettuce are growing just fine, which means that there are many physes underneath it. Of course, this is the best place to set up the trap. Fishes could be easily be found. Ellen suddenly looked at the back and asked if he could smell it as well. Taeyeon looked towards where she was looking and said now he smells something too. Both of them followed the strong smell and finally reached it. It was a very familiar and strong scent. It was of mint. Ellen pointed at it, gaining Taeyeon's attention. Again, the system appeared, showing him the uses and benefits of the wild mint as well as if it is edible or not. Jen told her that mint can lure away mosquitoes, so they should probably take some back with them in order to plant them to scare away mosquitoes so they do not get stung. Upon hearing this, Ellen immediately shouted that they should take loads of them with them. The more the better, since she were not fond of the mosquitoes and flies. After a while, both of them gathered a good amount of mint. Chen thought that it is enough, so they should go back to the camp and plant them around it. They did exactly that. They continued to plant the mint all around them, forming a circle. They finally sat down to breathe, as Tian thought that he never knew they would be able to find mint today. They were lucky. Lin was happy that they do not have to bother about mosquitoes anymore. Chin then decided to build a hammer using rope, wood, and stone, so he advised Ellen to take some rest by using this time. Later they have to go to the beach to gather some coconuts. She obliged and laid down. On the other hand, the system appeared again, and it had gifted Chen some more points for making a hammer. He had received 200 points. Chen was surprised that he got 2 prizes in less than a day. He started to understand the game better, that you would get more points by making survival tools. Yes, that was the only way. He had a big smile on his face. The daily supplies were not hard to find for him now. Ellen noticed him smiling like an idiot, questioning his happiness over a hammer. In the next scene, they went to the beach to collect coconuts Taeyeon had found earlier but left on the beach. They were shocked to find their coconuts used and broken. This made Taeyeon angry. Ellen was scared and asked what if there are more people on this island they are unaware of, considering someone used their coconuts. Shin disagrees by saying that the way the coconut were ripped open, it cannot be a human, but a wild animal. It is impossible for a human to do this. Ellen was triggered and questioned what if there are lions and tigers present in the island, then they would be doomed. Taeyeon was disappointed at her lack of common sense. He told her that those animals do not eat plant-based things. They are more into meat, and obviously they would not eat the coconuts. Although there are no coconut-eating cannibalism, which means there could be coconut-eating creatures, Taeyeon looked at the trail from the coconuts, which leads somewhere. Ellen realized he was talking about coconut crabs. He nodded, telling her to look around because there was nothing special that happened, only traces are which the coconut crab left behind. Ellen said that if they follow the traces, they can reach the coconut crab's location. Both of them followed the traces and finally reached the place where the trail ends, right underneath a coconut tree. She sighed, saying that they came so far but still have not found a coconut crab, but Chien told her to look out at the tree. A coconut crab was trying to get to the coconuts. They saw it trying to reach it with its powerful claws. The system again appeared, telling him about the species that the coconut crabs are often found in near the sea in tropical land. They are terrestrial and have big claws to cut open coconut shells. Ellen's mouth watered as she looked at the crab, saying that it must weigh 7 to 8 kilograms. They could feast on it. Can and Ellen thought the same. Both of them hid from the species near another tree because they had to trap it, so they had to wait for it to come down. The crab finally came down, and Ellen called Tyan to inform him. She was impatient. She tugged at his shirt to tell him to hurry since the crab was going up again. He told her to relax since the crab is not going anywhere. He sounded evil. He was not letting the crab go away after eating his coconuts. Ellen looked at his wicked expression with a dun look. Ellen watched the coconut crab tearing open the coconut shell as if it was as easy as peeling a banana. She was horrified. Shin agreed with her as he walked to the crab, taking the open coconut from him, earning a hiss from the species. Chin told him to keep opening the coconuts as if they could communicate with each other. It broke another one within seconds, so Tien took that away himself and called Ellen to come over, while the crab seemed mad. Ellen realized that he was looking for free work source, which is why he did not kill the crab so early. Tien then tied the crab in the rope, telling him that this was his fate after stealing his coconuts. Ellen named him as a bad guy considering how he was acting. Now they have to get back to the camp. Ellen told Tien to slow down because she was unable to keep up with him, but he told her to hurry since the sun was setting down and they have to get back. She told him that the coconuts were too heavy for her, so he suggested to take a small break here. Shen looked at the sea and thought that the water is going lower. If they had time, he would have catched more seafood. Ellen seemed disheartened because it was the third day and the rescue team still had not gotten to them. She thought they must have abandoned them. Shen called her out, but she became optimistic and said that they would not abandon them, and Tien was right when he told her that it would take them a week to reach them. They could not lose hope. She told him to hurry since the sun was going down, while Tien thought that it might take a week. They reached the water stream, and Ellen was happy to see 3 small fishes inside the container. Tigan said that it worked beyond his expectations. It was way more resourceful. The bottle was small, or they would have gotten more fishes. He then told Ellen to go back to the campfire. He would come after cutting the fishes. He had used banana worms as bait last time, so he would use fish liver this time. A system appeared again showing him that he had gotten 500 points. He was curious to know what he would get in exchange for that. The mission was accomplished, and he had enough to enter the commercial area. After a while, he reached the campfire and saw Ellen working on something. Upon questioning, she told him that she is building a bigger stove for the crab. She was thankful that they found fishes as well because she was not filled completely last night. While the good cooked, Chen thought that the capacity of the bottle was small, so they need to survive on food they find themselves. Both of them enjoyed the sweet crab meat. It was like coconut. Chen did not expect it to have so much meat. Ellen was now full and tired, so she told Tien that she would sleep and he could wake her up at midnight. She would guard him. Now it was the Ellen's turn as she was guarding Tien, but soon she got scared as Tien patted her shoulder. She was about to hit him with a hammer. She screamed at him for scaring her. Then she told him to go back to sleep. She had not called him yet, but he told her to sleep as he will guard them the night after telling her that it is fine. He told her that he wants her to be conscious enough she does not crack open his head. She fell asleep while Tien looked after them. In actuality, he had to look into the system's commercial shop to find what he could get in exchange for 2,000 points. Well, that's all for today. Like and comment for part 2.